13 slides because I've broken it up into 2 sections. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily going to be chronological as in your textbook. In your textbook, chapter 12, Sales Management and Technology, starts with ethical issues like bribery and deception, and not providing correct information to the customer. That is done in, I've done in my slideshow, unfortunately, in the second part. So that's not going to be part of today's session. Where today's session is mainly going to be focusing on the latter part of the chapter in the textbook, the 11th edition of the textbook. Okay, so again, as I suggested to you earlier on this week, follow the slides as a guideline when you are preparing for a test or an exam. This obviously would not be work that you will be tested on in your formal term test, which I can confirm after chatting to you guys yesterday. The exam date is the 27th. It is a Monday after the long weekend, and the online quiz is open book, 100 marks, 2 hours. But you have the whole day to do it, because it's not like a summative exam period where there's no classes. Classes will continue during your test period like it has in the first semester. And that's why, although the time limitation is 2 hours, you will have the whole day, the whole 24 hours of Monday the 27th to complete your online quiz. Everybody okay with that? Everybody happy with that? It's nothing, again, we try to keep it as simple as possible and as similar as to what you have become used to up to this point. For us to now change everything, and then it's just, it adds to the anxiety of the student before exam, and it's a stressful period as it is already. Okay, all good with that? Helpful information? We tick that box? And please share with the others. I've got no guarantee that they watch the recordings if they don't attend the sessions, the live sessions. So share with them, share amongst yourselves. I will closer to the time, and obviously most likely this session next week would be our last session before the exam, before the term test, because Friday is a public holiday. Next Friday is a public holiday, Friday. Okay, so Heritage Day actually. Next week, I'm going to spend time, because we are busy doing work that you're not going to be tested on in your formal term test. I'd much rather start with revision. I think we will have enough sessions. We actually only miss one class as a result of the public holiday. That should leave us with enough time to do exam preparation properly, or test preparation properly, as well as revision. So the whole of next week, I'm actually going to spend time on revision, because the timetable and our time definitely will allow for that. Everybody good with that? You all fine? I think I will post an announcement later this afternoon just to inform everybody that for next week, the sessions all next week's sessions will be focusing on preparing you for your term test, and we'll focus on revision of the work that we've done up to this point. So if you have any questions specifically, then obviously, apart from the logistics related to the test, which I'll address anyway, then please keep them handy. If you have time, I know that your time is limited, and that we also need to find a balance in our program, and between work and play and just relaxing. But it would be wise before every session, maybe in my announcement that I'll post this afternoon, I'm going to indicate what chapters we will do revision on each day and each session next week, because that will help, I think, to prepare in advance. I would like you to come to the class next week with questions of work in those particular chapters that we will be dealing with on that day that you have trouble with. Concept that has to be revisited and explained again, or just maybe using different examples to cement the concept, the theory of the concepts. But that will be what the program will look like next week. Okay. I might even start tomorrow, depending on, in my preparation, I will look at it and see how I can break up the periods for next week. And I might even start the revision tomorrow, but I will post the announcement as soon as I've estimated that. Right. You all know this. You are in the middle of it, right center. You cannot, as Gen Zs, live without the technology, without your phones, right? I'm pretty sure I'm accurate by making an assumption like that or making a statement like that. You guys are very much like yesterday, for instance. My wife has got a new laptop. I'm getting her old laptop, which is pretty much still very new, but there's obviously some software that needs to be reinstalled. And I tell you what, it's obviously all these technical companies and computer companies have great technical support teams. Email that you can phone. They can be based anywhere in the world, and they probably are based anywhere in the world. Sometimes it's a bot that you're speaking to, but your problem gets resolved. But there was one thing that we struggled with yesterday, and all of a sudden, from the back of the room, my son watching television, playing on his, I think he was busy watching that 70s show, but that's his favorite at the moment, revisiting that. And he's on his cell phone. And out of the blue, he just jumps in and says, "But you've got to do this, and that." And then I thought, all right, we've been battling with it for 45 minutes now. Thank you very much, but next time just do it a bit earlier. You guys are waxed. I mean, with the modern technology that's at offer. From a sales point of view, obviously, what that has meant is that because of technology, people might initially feel that, oh, you know what? It's going to replace the salesperson, because I mean, at the end of the day, the sales function itself is almost no need for it, because computers and fewer people can do it. But then we also have to realize that the sales function itself is such a diverse field. I mean, we'll see later on with when we deal specifically with a image in this section that's not in your textbooks, but I've included in the slide just to make it more just to illustrate the point better. Is not just to pick up the phone a prospect, make an appointment, do a presentation, close the sale after they've dealt with possible objections that customer could have. That's yes, that's the main function of sales, but it's not just limited to that. Remember, if we go back to some of our earlier chapters, they have different functions. Let me just quickly grab my textbook. I can actually refer to the exact chapter. I think it was Sales and Marketing Planning, chapter 3. It shows you that sales requires different people with different skills that can be exploited differently within the larger function of sales. Some people are better phoning people. Some people are better in admin. Some people are better in capturing information. Some people are better dealing with complaints. Some are better following up customers and offering good service to them. Some are better in the technical aspects to help as part of the support structure of that business to deal with customers and complaints and training them in how to use the product most efficiently. So it's a wider range than we actually initially just, if somebody says to you, I'm in sales. Now, it could be any of those things that I've just said. So it is, it's something that has resulted as a result of the technology that's available to us nowadays. For specific areas like the field sales and the field services and the fleet management and the mobile offices, definitely are areas where wireless data is applied. But the initial concerns that that technology is going to replace the salesperson actually has proven to be exactly the opposite. It has made the salesperson more efficient, because the salesperson can actually now spend more time on a very important aspect, and that is to service and interact with the customer, to offer the customer better service. I know of a company that I'm not going to mention by name that I've been dealing with for the best part of 20 years. Their service quality has improved as a result of technology, because they freed up people who were and who did more than one function in sales. Therefore, they were almost a jack of all trades, but a master of none. They knew a lot about many things, but they weren't necessarily experts in one of them, or they maybe were experts in one of them, but they were not actually allowed to do that because of the limitations that the lack of technology has presented. And when technology came to play, it actually meant that exactly the opposite happened. Salespeople have become more effective, especially in after-sales service. E-commerce, it's gone through the roof. It's not necessarily, however, resulted in businesses doubling their turnovers and volume of business, but it has expanded to a certain extent through the extended business hours. Businesses still have official hours of business, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever their business hours are. But because of the internet, people do business after hours when it's more convenient for them, realizing that it's outside the normal business hours of that company, but they know that during normal business hours the following day, that company will be in touch with them. So it's more convenient to the customer, because the transactions can now happen at a time that actually suits the customer better. There are, however, a few not disadvantages, but challenges that come with businesses, with the automation of businesses, and especially e-commerce. And it is usually because the website design is poor. It's not easy to navigate through the whole process. I've shared examples with you previously that I had with a company that I was involved in previously, and I thought, wow, let me just one day sit and go through the process that I expect my potential customers to go through. And then I realized, no wonder we're not as efficient as we can, because why aren't we getting as many online inquiries? And the reason was because our web site was designed poorly, and people found it challenging. And right on your opening page, it should say, before you continue with this online transaction, ensure that you have the following with you. cell phone, your ID number, and whatever the requirements are. And that is very helpful. And we actually felt right at that particular first step already, because people later on, and that sometimes you get timed out, because I mean, now you need to find something that's required to go to the next page, but you can't go to the next page because you don't know where to find this thing. It's poor web design usually is a huge challenge for e-commerce. Integrating different computer systems is also sometimes difficult. People still have security fears, and I can understand it completely. And then obviously financial capabilities. Sometimes people can control themselves when they're in the shop, but when they're shopping online, they go a bit overboard. Also, the financial capabilities in the form of the website being set up properly to deal with the transactions that you want customers to do. Customers go online because it's convenient, and it can be done at a time that suits them best. But if the website that you are accessing and using for your online transactions are not supportive, and there are limited payment options, for instance, it just ends in a bad experience. Right. At the moment, it appears as if it's only Kaylin and Jessica that's still with me, or am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The others nodded off. It's fine. I don't have a problem with that, but that means that I'm only going to do the next page, and then I'm going to give you a break as well. What do you think? Is that a good deal?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Would you appreciate that, or you feel, you know what, you all seem very tired. I can definitely pick that up from the level of, or the lack of, yeah, you just seem tired. Okay, so let's start.
It's been rough, sir.
What's the next thing that's and obviously I don't know everything that you're busy with at the moment. Is the assignment that you have to submit tomorrow for this particular module is obviously not the only assignment? Is it the last one? Is the first one in a series? Or I mean, where are we at the moment when it comes to your workload?
So for me, I'm actually a third-year student, and I have an extra second-year subject with yours, and then I had one last semester as well. And it was because I came in the middle of the year 2019. So I have an extra subject now, which is your subject. I didn't keep it for last, but I also have another assignment due for Friday. But I'm finished with everything. It's like this chill.
That would be nicer, and that's something to actually, yeah, that's well done. I mean, you've said very achievable. You've set very achievable goals for yourself, and also obviously a great reward waiting for you, because nobody wants to work on a public holiday. Nobody should work on a public holiday, but you know what? Because we sometimes plan badly, we have to. Anyway, let's just finish. I'm just going to finish off with this slide, and then we'll take a shorter, we'll take an earlier break for today, because there's no point in focusing, especially if we are doing well for time, to unnecessarily push it into the red, and then we all suffer from burnout. Right. There are 4 levels of e-commerce. Firstly, we have the integrated level. That's basically where there's a coordination between the e-commerce sites and the back end, basically, that deals with the accounts and the inventory. That's where they collect or gather information about the customer and the customer's buying habits specifically. When do they buy? What form of payment do they usually use? So that's more sort of, it's more a collection function and on that level, because you have to start there, because you need to gather the information on customers before you can actually do any of the others, functions that we find in e-commerce. Transactions or transact, that second level, we are all very much involved at that level. We buy online, we do transactions online, businesses do business with each other online. So that level of e-commerce we are very familiar with, and we are actually involved in as a customer, where we are not necessarily, apart from providing information to the inquiring company in our integrate level 1 right at the top, very limited interaction with the customer. It's more sort of internal, collect information from the customer, and that's basically where the interaction with the customer finishes. Then it's interaction and integration of different sections in the business to share the information and obviously that has been gathered or recorded. And the transact level is a greater customer involvement in the e-commerce process, because they are the ones who are doing the shopping. Third level, the interact level, that's basically sharing information. That's your social media platforms, that's your emails. Information is being shared, and it's connecting different different components of that are involved in a normal sales transaction. It could be initially just passive, because you are just you're not interacting. You're going onto Facebook just to see what other people do. You read emails that come in from businesses about products that they are marketing, but you don't reply to them. You're not expected to reply to them, but it can become something of it can result and be turned from a passive interest into an interaction where you do reply and respond, and then start chatting, open your own Facebook page, and so yes, it can it can result, or that on this specific e-commerce level, those kind of activities happen. So it's very much initially sometimes just passive, because you are just listening to music that you have downloaded. There's no real interaction, but later on it can be, and it is done obviously on the preferred platform. Then we also have the fourth e-commerce level, and that's the one of publishing. And that's the process where we're using computers, and especially the software that produce web-based docs that can be used by businesses to publish information on what they have available, on what the business is doing. It could be press releases, it could be general information. It's blogs maybe that they run. So there's also more interaction on that level, but it can also just be that the one party, the seller, is using it just to publish more information that can be accessed by customers, but does not necessarily require an interaction always to gather that information or to collect that information from a customer's point of view. Right, everybody, I'm not gonna go into greater detail and further into the chapter. I'm going to leave it right at this, and I'm going to honor what agreement I've made with you, and we knock off a couple of minutes early. And again, really, Thank you very much for showing the endurance to stay involved right up to this point. Thanks, Kaylin. Thanks, Jessica. Any questions any of you have, or are you ready to actually call it a day? Or do you have more classes after this?
I'm finished for the day.
Whoa, yeah, me too. Yes.
Like
that. Okay. Thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Stay safe, and hope you feel better every day.
Thanks,
Thanks,
sir.
Kaylin.
Awesome.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Thanks very much.